Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. For this review, Duncan Kyle and myself have been checking out the new album from Finnish melodic doom band Red Moon Architect. The band's new album, Emptiness Weighs the Most, will be released on October 23rd via Noble Demon. So, album number 5 from this Finnish six-piece, and Emptiness Weighs the Most comes only a year after their 29 release, Cura, which was a bit of a sidestep for the band. That release was only 3 tracks long, and had a running time of 40 minutes.
I was like, that's an EP, Dave, and then you were like 40 minutes. I'm like, no, that's an album. It's an album.
But it was quite different from their usual material. It was a lot kind of more bleaker, kind of almost like a black metal meets drone kind of territory they were in. Very different from what you're getting on this new album, and even from their past releases. So I'm not entirely sure if that release was just a bit of experimentation or if they were trying something new. But regardless, the band are now about to put out their new release, which is firmly back in the melodic doom genre and produced by the drummer, keyboardist Saku Moilanen. Again, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
Scottish.
Apologies.
You should just play the Scottish card. Scottish, mate. Means I can't
Scottish.
pronounce fuck all.
Yes, but yeah, the drummer keyboardist produced the album. Now, when I must admit, when I first heard the first main track of the album, Chained, I was quite impressed with the slick sound of the band. The production was pretty polished for a doom band, which isn't always the case with that genre. But you tend to hear doom bands go for more often than not a more grainy sound. But this band do have a bit of melody to them. So, and you can hear for that first track, even though this track was heavy up front from a guitar and vocal point of view, the guitars do weave in and out of crushing heaviness and melancholic melody. Vocally, that track sticks within a certain area. The intensity and the tone and the pitch all remain pretty homogeneous throughout. And I thought, yeah, that's going to be fine for a few tracks, but I wasn't sure if it was going to hold my attention for a full album. But then on track 3, they bring in a track called Rise. It takes a turn, and they introduce Annie Valkonen into the mix on clean vocals. And on that track, I quite enjoyed that contrast that they brought in, the 2 different vocal styles. Especially against that gloomy backdrop musically. I think the addition of those clean vocals really opened up that feeling of the light and dark on the track. And I'd say that theme continues throughout the album with the back and forth between the 2 vocal styles. And I particularly liked when they tend to blend them together. If you listen to the chorus on One Shines Brighter, I quite liked that the link up between the 2. I think having them back to back like that was a more engaging texture, and it was one of the more standout tracks on the album for me. Musically, I quite enjoyed the track called Muse. It was one of the more brooding tracks on the release, sitting somewhere between I had funeral doom influences and some death doom as well. A lot of nice creative chords, dark tones in that track. But I think vocally this is where the album started to become a little too repetitive for me. Both vocalists are good at what they do, but the formula and the style of the melody started to become a little too familiar for me. I think a lot of the vocal blueprints on a lot of the tracks follow a very, how would you say, an unaltered path. With each vocalist taking a section each and going back and forth, and then occasionally they'll blend the 2 together, and that's fine. But for me, probably about 2/3 of the way through the album, it lost its appeal for me, and I think Like, I think this genre can be tough to sell. Doom can be a very like repetitive style, just the nature of it. But you know, bands have to find something that keeps listeners engaged, and I think Red Moon Architect have partly accomplished that by adding the melody to their music and the vocals, and by adding kind of other instruments. Like there's a bit of piano and stuff on the album Closer, but I feel like some of the elements they've added to try and keep it interesting also became repetitive, if that makes sense. It's also an album that kind of tends to in fact, I'll let you guys go because I've spoke for quite a while. I'll let you guys speak for a bit and I'll come back in later. Duncan, what did you make of this?
I think I liked it a bit more than you.
Okay.
So I listened to it twice today, and I know where you're coming from vocally, but I think what's weird about it is the genre of music that it's in. It highlights a kind of samey pattern of vocal styles where other musical genres can hide them through fancy guitar work or, you know, clever production or whatnot. When you have things stripped back to their bare bones as they are here, I mean, every band, unless they have a like incredible frontman, follow a formula with vocals. Vocalists have a particular range that they're comfortable within, and they will sing it. The exceptional vocalists maybe can cover a couple of ranges, and the clever vocalists are the ones that know when to jump between those ranges in songs to give you a bit of dexterity, you know. And you'll have to listen to something like Phil Anselmo and Cemetery Gates, which plays it, you know, so straight down the line metal until that chorus, and then until the end where he lets loose a note that where you the fucking hair on the back of your neck stands up. But for the most part, what he has that range. Everyone else roughly around him is doing the range that he sings the majority of the song in, because that's their comfortable range. The vocals here are in a similar part to that, and I think when you have a song that goes 6 minutes or 7 minutes and you don't have that second gear or that additional range, that's when it can become a bit repetitive. To me, I always approach doom music in that I consider the vocals just another instrument, and as a result of that, I think it worked a lot better for me. I think the mix works really well. I think, especially when you get to a track like My Beloved on the last track, which is primarily just the female vocals taking lead, and it's far more kind of gothic and opulent sounding. I think more moments like that in the album would have benefited them, to be fair. I think it would have broken up a bit of the monotony, and monotony is a bad word, but even then I think it suits the band. It is a big characteristic of doom metal, and it's something that you kind of just have to get behind in all its different facets. So I see where you're coming from. To me, it just was, I didn't necessarily approach it from the same position. To me, when I sit down and listen to a doom album, I don't expect much in the way of any dexterity in the vocals. I expect it just to be an additional layer over the soundscape that I'm hearing, and the fact that we had those two is where I think they differentiate themselves cleverly without being necessarily great at what they're doing. I would also double down, and I agree with you, the bit where the vocals match up are some of the better moments, and it's a technique I wish they'd used more specifically over choruses, because you get that kind of almost, you get that deliberate range by a guy singing so deep and guttural, and her singing on that kind of mid to high range vocal that she has, which is a very pure, at times very haunting melody kind of tone that she's got, which I think she is the melodic part of this doom metal band, right? For sure. And some of the chord structures definitely accentuate that, but for the most part you could easily take her vocals out and they could still be called a melodic doom metal band. They just wouldn't be nearly as interesting as they are with her in it. We're once again adding to the Duncan can't pick where a band's come from. I would never have said Finland for them. I'm so glad that I know they are Finnish, because I have a lot of soft spot for Finland as a country, and their musical output. They put out a lot of pish, but their ratio of bands that I will go back and listen to is surprisingly high. So I mean I'd be really curious to go back and check that previous release, which is a bit more dissonant and a bit more kind of vulgar sounding, for sure. But here, I like to mix. Now, if you're asking me how often I'll come back and listen to this album, probably not that much. I've listened to it twice now, and I've gleaned pretty much all I need to glean from it. It just maybe didn't bore me, maybe vocally, as much as it bored you.
Okay. I think, I can see where you're coming from. I found it was also an album that tended to stick with the same tempo and pace as well.
There's no mix at all. No mix at all.
And that kind of gave it that same type of feeling. So I would maybe have added in something a little bit more pace just to mix it up. Because it's not like they're solely sticking within the doom genre. They do put in some kind of deathier parts into their sound. So there wasn't any real reason they couldn't, add a little bit more of a tempo change in there now and again. I think that variety would go a long way. But
I think, like
Kyle,
songs, I was going to say songs like 4 through 7. I had to keep checking my phone to see if we changed songs. And that's because there is no tempo change, like at all. It is all deliberate there. So the reason I said I was quite interested about the other album is the fact you said it's 3 tracks.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Which makes me wonder, if that's maybe just a format they're used to necessarily working in, and that as a byproduct of when they try and split them into songs, there's just no idea of mixing things up like that on an album.
Yeah.
Which I think, to be honest, Dave, I think that is a very, very fucking fair criticism. So.
Yeah. Kyle, what about yourself?
I don't know, man. I think I like this album less than both of you.
Oh, right, okay.
That's good. That's good. We're hitting all three. We're hitting all 3 levels here.
Yeah. I mean, I read they were from Finland. I expected him to sing in English, but when he was doing those guttural vocals, I couldn't understand anything. It sounded like they had some weird wah effect on the vocal or something, or he was just singing in Finnish, and I don't know what Finnish sounds like. I don't know. It was terrible, and I couldn't figure it out. I just thought, who said yes to that vocal sound? Who sat there and said, "Good job, dude"? Because it was not a good job. And like everything you've mentioned before, like the same chord structures and very formulaic songs. I mean, I know it's Doom, and Doom does that, but there's good Doom and bad Doom, and this is bad Doom. It's like, it's all too slow, it's all too the same. It does pick up when she sings, and I think they should kill the other dude. I mean, not kill him, cut him out. I meant kill like when you kill it on the mixer, just kill the channel.
Mute's that word.
Not,
mute. We could use mute, which,
not.
I mean, isn't kill.
Well, I mean, it's Finland. It's a hard country. It's like, sorry, not in the band anymore. That's it. No, just get him to stop singing and keep on doing whatever other thing he's doing. I don't know if he's playing guitar as well or something, but just get him out because it was bad. Like you said, this was their 5th album, and it still sounds like they're still finding their feet. And it's just like, I don't know if they're trying something new. Like you said, the last release was 3 songs and 40 minutes long. That sounds way more interesting than this ever could hope to be. I think my one note on my notes actually is just boring.
Just want to stress here that Kyle lives in Norway, so there may be some Nordic bias here towards the neighbouring country of Finland. I'll get you, Finland.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, it got to like track 3 or 4. First one I was like, oh, the production's really good. I've got to admit, it was like, the tones are there, all the sounds are great, and it sounds amazing. It really does. But like after the 3rd, 4th track, I was like, are you gonna do something, guys? I mean, you got the lady singing, and that's really good, and you should just make her your singer. And then afterwards, I was like, checking my phone and looking. I listened to it a couple of times. I just couldn't get through it. It was on, and I couldn't pay attention to it. It was really not holding my interest at all. And it's just like, okay, you've got the same tempo, same chords, same exact formula for every one of your songs, and maybe it's a thing of the genre, but I mean, I love Doom as well, and it's like there's great songs and bands that are in the Doom genre that keep it interesting. It's like Meshuggah, they're not Doom at all, but they have their very specific certain style, but they always manage to keep it interesting somehow. So not a fan.
Okay. I think like rating wise, this one, I think they're a very they're very accomplished musicians.
For sure.
And I do like the kind of contrast between the two vocal styles. I like the production; it sounds huge, well balanced, and I did enjoy it to begin with. But as the album kind of crept on, I did start to become distracted just due to its kind of lack of variety in certain areas. So, scoring wise for me, this is probably I'd go probably 3 out of 5 on this one. Duncan, where are you sitting at?
A 3.5.
3.5, nice. And Kyle?
I'm going to give the lowest score I've ever given and give it 2.
2, okay.
So we were
Fair
all
enough.
right. I liked it more than Dave, and you liked it less than both of us. So.
Yeah. Let us know what you think, guys. Check out the album. If you want to have a listen to the band, you'll find them on facebook.com/Red Moon Architect. Check them out, have a listen to the album. It drops on October 23rd on Noble Demon. The album's called Emptiness Weighs the Most. Let us know what you think.